I think this was maybe a bit of a missed opportunity. I feel like we started off with a totally different story to what we ended up with. I love the way that it was set up. I love the initial story of it, but then it kind of just went off in a direction that I'm like, it's not really what I was expecting going into it. Usually that's not really a bad thing, but I think for this, I didn't care for the story we ended up getting, which is so unfortunate because it had so much promise. But we do have these four characters. This one is Maruso. I think she's a nurse. Then we have Taburo. Again, so sorry for the pronunciations. Pitan, who is an engineer, and Barachi, who is hiding a birthmark on her face. And the four of them meet up at the very start of the story. I love how they did this. They were like, oh, I'm so glad we all wore black so that we knew that it was us. And I'm just like, do you know how many people wear black? Like, could you imagine, like, that's the only defining trait about these four people who have met up on a forum. It's a forum or like a website where people want to take their own lives. So even though they've never met before, they do decide to meet up. And yeah, they're like, oh my god, it's like, good job all wearing black. And could you imagine if somebody just strolled by wearing black too, and they were like, oh, they're part of our little thing. So in the first chapter, we do find out about the backstories of these characters, is in like what's driving them to want to end their lives. And I will say, in praise of this book, I feel like this is the most developed, I think, that the characters have felt in any of Junji Ito's works, even including his longer ones. I feel like a lot of those ones are so driven by the plot that you don't really get a sense of character or really... I mean, every now and then I do feel sorry for the characters, of course, but I feel like in this one, because we start off with such character-heavy moments and it's a character-driven storyline at the start of this, that you really do get a look at like the three dimensions of these characters. So I really liked that. So they get in a car, they plan to drive off, take their own lives in a remote place, through different means, whether it's, you know, petrol or like the fumes or something, and like sleeping pills. There's like a whole multitude of things. So I genuinely thought that we were going to get some kind of like Groundhog Day type story of them just continuously trying to end their own lives but failing, or at least like maybe succeeding but coming back to have to do it all again. And there were some things in the first chapter that I thought maybe that would be the case. There's even like a doppelganger who is introduced, which was really interesting. There was like this whole idea of Barachi looking into a mirror and the mirror person telling her to die. And there were just so many different avenues that we could have gone down. Now the avenue that we ended up choosing by the end of this was probably like my least favorite outcome of anything that could have potentially happened from the storylines and the beats that were set up in the first chapter. I do feel like what we ended up getting wasn't even set up in the first chapter, to be honest. So it did really feel quite random. But yeah, even this guy, Pitan, he has this sort of robot doppelganger kind of thing because the lab he works in has made it and he feels inferior to it. So that's like another reason why he's being driven to end his life. And Maruso kind of sees the future a little bit. She has this anxiety that weighs on her and she knows that there's just going to be disaster after disaster that's coming and she doesn't want to be around to see it happen. But yeah, they do have a failed attempt thing, which it was a really great first chapter because we didn't really know who the real people were. And I thought that was really interesting. I would have loved if we explored more of the doppelganger side of this, but honestly, it never really is explored again, which is such a shame. Yeah, they try a second time to end their lives, and that's when Pitan, he dies, but he comes back and he throws up or like vomits this ball, this energy ball that has like souls inside it, and it's like a new mineral. What do they call it again? Paradonite. They think it's come from paradise, and a sort of doorway has opened up in his stomach kind of thing. And then it becomes like this get rich quick scheme, selling these things, these new minerals, and a doctor comes into it who's trying to exploit them to open the doorways, and like each of them have their own kind of doorway, like the birthmark on her face. That, oh my god, that's actually a really disgusting visual. That starts to spew out the balls, the minerals. So like this is definitely like probably the grossest visual in this whole thing, so I really did like that. But I really did not want to explore the idea of them getting rich quick kind of storyline, selling these minerals. I didn't care for any of that. I was sitting reading this just like, oh, this is the route we're going down, really? There were so many things at the start of this that could have helped lead the story. So the initial premise of this is a little misleading. I wouldn't say it was just about four people who don't know each other wanting to take their lives together. It becomes a get rich quick scheme. Essentially, that's what it boils down to. I mean, obviously, like, there's more nuance to that. But the story overall, I genuinely do think it was just a missed opportunity. So it is a bit good. This is the thing, I don't even have that much to say about it, even though it says a full story on its own. I mean, there is another bonus story at the end, which I'll talk about in a second. So I'm probably going to give this like a 4 out of 10. The couple of gross visuals, the couple of page-turning moments don't make up for the randomness of the direction this took. This is probably like the most disappointed I've been in a Junji Ito book, which is so sad. Like, it's so sad. But I mean, 4 is still fine. It's just like below average for me. So yeah, there is a bonus story at the end called Strange Pavilion. It is only 4 pages, so this is like really hard to read too. It's literally just about people at an amusement park just waiting to enter this Comoran tent, where inside there is this bird-like creature which is violent, disgusting. And I also love the fact that this is all colour. This little bird creature eats people and then spits them out. And like, it's on display. It's not even like behind bars or anything like that. It's like literally with everyone, and it swallows the people, spits them out, and they like melt. A little bit dissolving classroom vibes to the melting. But yeah, there's not really anything to say about it for me personally. It might have some kind of commentary to the idea of us keeping creatures trapped in zoos and having these animals on display for humans to gawk at. So maybe it's like a good little commentary on that, but it is just a little bit too short for me to really have an opinion on. So I'll probably just give that like a 3 out of 10. I feel like it would be unfair to rate this volume with both of those stories. Like, there have been volumes in the past that I've not included the story that's like 2 pages long, like the Memories of the Real Poop one. I haven't included that in the average of the volume that was in. So what I might do is I might exclude the bonus story for the overall rating for Black Paradox and just say this got a 4 out of 10 and is unfortunately like my least favorite bound volume of a Junji Ito story so far, which is it's so unfortunate. Like, I was hoping we would like get back on track and zoom, but it feels like I've probably read nearly all of Junji Ito's best works already, which I hope not. I do still have 2 more to go, so I'm ready to dive into the final 2 books.